Hi guys, welcome back to the family channel. Today I am going to be talking about breastfeeding. I know that this is sometimes a sensitive topic, but I thought I'd share for all the new mamas out there that I know. Instead of asking me a whole bunch of questions, I decided to put a video on this. Luckily, I have time tonight and I'm not sick, so that's a plus. I've been sick for the past day and a half-ish so, but now I finally feel better because I was supposed to do this yesterday and I did not. So just telling you first about the first 2 weeks. Nobody can prepare you for those first 2 weeks, and it was not easy. Something about the US is apparently that we don't get easy access to lactation consultants, which is really sad because they were really helpful for me. Just a little bit about my journey with breastfeeding Eva. I researched it heavily, but none of my research could prepare me for the real thing. Some of the tips that I have were the quick and close, which really worked, and it really helped with, I think, with Eva's latch from the get-go. So my story was a little different. So I had an unplanned C-section. So it was an emergency, thank God, but it was unplanned. What I didn't know is that when you have an unplanned C-section, it really can make a delay in your milk coming in. I wish somebody had told me so I wasn't freaking out. But basically, she had a good latch at the hospital. She was cluster feeding non-stop for like days. I mean, 5-hour stretches, and it was nothing short of exhausting, besides the fact that we hadn't slept in like 48 hours before she was born because I was in labor for a very long time. So we were exhausted, and we basically begged the nurses eventually to take her at least for an hour so we could sleep. So we got home. She was still latching like she was at the hospital, and I was like, what is wrong? What is wrong? We went to the doctor, and she had lost too much weight. So the doctor was like, you need to supplement with formula to get her weight back up, and she was thirsty, and you could tell her mouth was parched. And I basically lost it. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been starving my child for a week. And it really got to me. And so we ended up supplementing with formula for 1 day. 1 day. And in that 1 day, I nursed her. She had 2 ounces of formula, and we got to sleep. And let me tell you, it was like the miracle worker. I don't know what happened, or if it was just a matter of timing, but my milk ended up coming in the very next day after we supplemented formula. And I think that next day we only supplemented once, and then she was fine. And if you've seen the videos, she's definitely a healthy baby. She's definitely getting enough milk. So the people that I've watched are Tiffany Beeston and Emily Norris. I watched their breastfeeding videos, and they really helped me, but I didn't learn everything that I need to know, and some people prefer not to know at the get-go, but it was something I needed to do, but I obviously don't think that I researched enough. So the things that you need are obviously, you know, yourself. Things that I really liked. I liked the Medela lanolin from the hospital, but this organic, I don't know if you can see it, this Earth Mama nipple butter is really, really awesome. I really liked that. And obviously nursing pads. These are like Bamboo Bees or some off-brand. I don't know. We got them off of Amazon. Those were really helpful. And I got some of the disposable ones, but I like these ones because they're reusable. I do have the disposable ones backup. I have used the Medela and the, what is it, Liniso? And the Target brand, but right now I've been using the Target brand as backup, and I like those just fine. Obviously, you have the Boppy Lifesaver for when they're little, and then we still use ours for propping and such. And a good nursing bra is something that I really liked. I like the Medela bra to sleep in, and I just got this one from Target. It's the Night Medela bra, and it was on clearance and didn't have a price tag and it wouldn't show up, so I got it for $1.50 at Target. So great find. I also invested, after she was born, these nursing tanks. She was born in May, so I could just wear these and be fine outside. I got these off of Amazon too. And one thing that I really like, since I've been pumping and coming home and having to nurse her right when I get home, is this pumping, hands-free pumping / nursing bra. So this detaches, and then it also has the holes for hands-free pumping. This is like the best thing ever, and I use it the most, especially during the work week for all you working mamas. So yeah. And also, if you haven't invested in one of these yet, put it on your wish list, do whatever. It's called the Haka, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's Haakaa. Great stuff. What else? Also, so there's a whole bunch of pumps out there. I have the Medela pump. I've heard a lot about the Spectra. It's a lot quieter, and I heard it's better at getting your milk out. I haven't really tried it out, but I've heard really good things about it. I don't have any problems with the Medela. I just had to go and make sure that I knew what I was doing with a lactation consultant. So things that really were beneficial for me during this process was that Ryan was really supportive, and everybody in my family was really supportive of breastfeeding. They weren't like, oh, she's not gaining weight, you should formula feed, and that's it. They kind of chose to support me in this breastfeeding journey, even if they were uncomfortable and had to go into another room for me to be able to do it. Another thing is, you need your instincts. That being said, breastfeeding is supposed to be natural, but it's not the most natural thing, if that makes sense. They say it's natural, but there's a lot of techniques and tricks and tips that you don't instinctively know how to do, and that is okay. That's why lactation consultants are there, and that's why there's videos out there. If it was the most natural thing, I guess formula wouldn't be a thing. I don't know. So one of the biggest things that I learned from the YouTube videos that I watch and from just researching online is the something about close and pushing your babies, I don't know. So basically hold your babies close, and when they open their mouth, you just basically shove their head into your breast. And it might sound very abrasive and harsh, and Ryan literally thought I was like nuts for doing this, but it worked. And basically latch them on when their mouth was open. It really helps them get a good latch because they need more than just the nipple in your mouth, if that makes sense. I'm sorry for the graphic information, but that's just what it is. Another thing to look out for babies is their jaw movement. So if they're going like you're sucking through a straw, it's not a good latch. What you want is for their cheeks or their mouth to open and close, like kind of like you're chewing or biting an apple. That's the best way I can describe it. So things that I didn't know are the big, like, this is why I'm doing this video, because I was very unprepared even with the research I did. And I doubt this will help any new mamas out there by just watching a short video. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I can point you at least to a nice support group, which I have found really helpful. So things that I've learned is that oatmeal, flaxseed, brewer's yeast are all good foods to supplement your supply. That isn't fenugreek, because I've heard that fenugreek can increase your supply, but I donate to CHKD, and if you take fenugreek, you can't donate your milk. So I don't, because it's not FDA regulated. Another thing that I've learned, you get really thirsty, and so drinking water is paramount, because if you don't drink water, you don't produce enough milk, because obviously it's liquid. And expect to be hungry all the time. Breastfeeding hunger is worse than pregnancy hunger. So just be aware that sometimes diet and exercise can affect your milk supply. But the nice thing is that every ounce of breast milk that you make, you burn 20 calories. Something I didn't know, but I was really happy to know, because I overproduce a little bit, so the estimated range of the excess calories I can have changes based on the amount of milk that I make. So the things that I really didn't know, first of all, is C-sections can cause your milk not to come in as fast. See earlier in the video. Also, nipple confusion apparently really isn't a thing. Everywhere online told me that it was a thing, and so I was afraid to even give her a pacifier. I was afraid to try to give her a bottle, and as a first-time mom, like, I'm gonna try to trust the experts, but I don't. Apparently, it really isn't a thing. For Eva, she didn't really have nipple confusion, so I choose to believe that it isn't a thing. But then again, I'm not a lactation consultant. So, another thing, sleep matters. So if you are not filling your own tank, you can't obviously pour into another cup. So I just, sleep really, really helped me out. I feel like sleep was the thing that was preventing my body from resetting itself to make milk, to have the energy to make milk. So if you're tired and exhausted, go ahead and take that nap. And if he happens to feed while you're sleeping, go ahead and pump right after you wake up. I can tell you it will make all the difference. Another thing, if your baby's mouth is dry, it's probably because they're hungry. And I was really anxious the whole time about, if she was getting enough milk. And also, if she's peeing, or I keep saying she because I have a girl. But if you have enough pees and enough poops, that means they're probably getting enough food. if they're not peeing regularly, I think it's like 7 to 8 pee diapers and like 1 poop or 2 poop diapers a day. I'm not sure. I see a lactation consultant. And also, next thing, to make sure that your supply is there is to make sure that your baby is to your breast as often as they want. That's how your supply is regulated. That's how they figure out, oh, mom is making enough milk, so maybe I can back off the cluster feeding, or mom's not making enough milk, so let's cluster feed. Babies are really smart. I've learned that. Like, what the heck? Cluster feeding for 5 hours to make your milk come in. I didn't know they could do that. The next thing is public breastfeeding is scary for the first time, but just go for it. So one thing I didn't show is this. So this is a boppy one, and I literally got this from like a secondhand store, kid to kid. And this plastic thing right here is a lifesaver, let me tell you, because you can see down here while they're eating. Best thing ever. Another thing, oh, I did not learn this, but let me tell you, that lanolin they give you, make sure you have one of these in your clothes, because it will go through your clothes and stain it. Not fun. Especially when you pay for a $20 nursing top and it goes through the nursing top and you're just like, well, great. So make sure you have a nursing pad on you at all times. The best stain remover that I've learned to try to get that lanolin out is that Method makes a good stain remover. It's gotten it out so far, so knock on wood. So lactation consultants, I've learned, are so invaluable. I actually found a support group in the Richmond area that was really helpful for me. There's lactation consultants that run the group, and they'll answer your questions. Plus you can also connect with other breastfeeding mamas, and they can help and give you tips, and kind of, they're just in the journey along with you, so that's always great. And another thing, I have a lot of things that I didn't know that I feel like some other people should know, is that just if you pump, because I asked and they were like, if you're nervous, go ahead and start pumping, because I was nervous to start pumping to go to work. So if you're pumping after the baby eats, about ½ an ounce is to be expected. You might think, oh my gosh, they're not getting anything, but ½ an ounce is a pretty good amount if you pump right after they eat. So what else? Oh, sometimes, so there's a thing called a letdown. It's basically when your milk comes down, like lets down. And sometimes when you have an oversupply, or when you have a fast letdown, it can choke the baby. Eva kind of got used to it, but it can be pretty scary the first couple times. Something I didn't know is that letdowns can hurt. I mean, not like knives sticking in you, but I mean like a tingling sensation. Yeah, so just be aware that it could hurt. Some people don't even feel it, but I do. So another thing, along with, I guess this should go back with the bottle feeding / nipple confusion, I was really scared. I don't know about scared, anxious, I don't know. Could be a first-time mom thing, could be postpartum anxiety. I haven't really processed that at this moment, but I was literally afraid to go anywhere because I was scared about nipple confusion, and because I was scared that she wouldn't eat for other people. And I feel like sometimes that really took away from, me just staying who I was. So if you can pump and give her breast milk, or your baby breast milk, just to go out for a couple hours, do it, because it'll do wonders for your mental health. I wish I had, and I wish somebody would have told me it's okay. And I know people probably did, but it wasn't the same, because the people that weren't necessarily breastfeeding or hadn't necessarily breastfed. And I'm not saying that it's easier now. I'm saying it's still hard to leave my baby, but just being able to go out for a few hours just to be me and to take care of myself is amazing. So yeah, there's plenty of things that I could tell you. There's different positions that you can do: football hold, cradle hold, plenty of other positions, sideline, the biological, but you can probably find that on other videos. The last thing I wanted to talk about, though, was the pumping working supply issues. So I don't know if anybody follows me on Instagram and Facebook, but I do have a slight oversupply. I mean, some people have a large oversupply. I mean, like Tiffany Beeston, like, whew, 8 ounces from each side. That's crazy. I, however, only produce maybe 24 ounces extra a week, which is more than enough. It doesn't bother me. I actually donate to CHKD when I have probably 600 ounces in my fridge, or my freezer, my deep freezer. I didn't have an oversupply until I started going back to work around week 9-ish. I went back to work part-time, and I think what was happening is I was pumping, and I was pumping out more milk than I actually needed. I just had the right flange size, and I made sure that I kind of knew what I was doing before I went to work. And that's when my supply issue started. Like I said, I don't mind for now. It might be an issue later. So if you do have an oversupply, the more you pump out, the more your it signals to your body that you're going to make more milk. So just be aware of that. So if you do have an oversupply and you want it to go down a little bit, just don't pump it all out. Eventually it'll tell your body that, hey, you don't need this. Stop. Anyways, so the things that I learned with pumping, and this is where really the lactation support group meeting was really helpful. So I was pumping with the flange size that came with the Medela. It turns out that I need the larger size, so Medela makes 4 or 5 different sizes. And then I ordered the larger flange size and the smaller, and I worked down to the smaller, whatever, because I didn't know what I was doing, and it hurt. And then I went to the regular, and it still hurt. And then I went to the lactation consultant, and she checked me. I was like, you need the larger one. And after that, it was pretty easy, not gonna lie. So just make sure that you have the right flange size, because otherwise your output isn't gonna be what it should be, and it's gonna hurt, and I know it's just not okay. And one thing that what I've experienced is that you can get chapped in, if you use the nipple butter or the lanolin, then sometimes it helps with suction and just making sure that you don't hurt. So there's a lot of pump parts involved with pumping, and you have to sanitize, and just make sure before you have the baby just to check those out, because it was very confusing, not gonna lie. I had no idea what I was doing, because I didn't really open it until later, but you know, too much information sometimes isn't a good thing. At least that's what I was saying before I was, you know, breastfeeding. Afterwards I was like, I wish I could. I've researched more, and I was freaking out. Don't freak out. So one thing that I've learned with work also is that make sure you have time to pump, because if you don't pump and you let yourself become engorged, it signals to your body you don't need this milk, and that's when you have supply drop issues. So I pump about 3 times a day. I try to pump 3 times a day while I'm gone. And I make sure that I kind of am aware of how much my baby's drinking during the day. So anywhere between 12 and 16 ounces is how much I pump during the day, depending on how long of a day I have. There are guidelines for breast milk storage. You can find them on Medela. Go on Pinterest. It's basically 5 to 7 days in the fridge, in the back of the fridge. 3 months in the regular freezer, and CHKD will take 6 months, I think, in the deep freezer. A tip, I learned this the hard way, is I have a Laniso manual pump, because one day I went to work and forgot an important piece of equipment. So make sure that you have backup, whether it's the Haka, I don't know, or I have the Laniso manual pump, and it was a lifesaver. So thank you, Pamela Pierce, if you're out there looking at this. She was really a lifesaver and was kind enough to go get me a manual pump. And actually don't mind the manual pump. I almost like it better than Medela, but it is a little bit more time consuming. So basically just reach out for support when you need it, and if you need it. Some people don't, and that's fine. I did. So I went and searched for something. The Lactation Club is what I found. It's run by Bon Secours St. Francis, and I really, really appreciate the LCs and the people in the group. I hope that this helps somebody out there somewhere. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I don't mind if you have questions. If you want more information, go ahead and contact me as well, or just comment down below. So yeah, I hope this helps one person, one new mama out there, because there are plenty of breastfeeding videos out there, but not all of them cover everything, so I hope this covers one more thing off of somebody's list. Hope to see you next time. Bye, guys. Hi.
And it was really nice because it was what I was expecting. It was no, like it was cool.
What? Oh, really? You talking to the camera?
Hello?
Oh,
It's going well, Dr. Jess. Great. Hope that you're having an amazing Friday here. And right here, so we have a little homework assignment for you. I want you to take a moment to share things that you really like and appreciate about the content, as well as any concerns or reservations that you have at this point, or simply just think you might want to work on. That make sense? Yeah. The most important thing that these couples can do is they observe.
Oh, Dada, she's eating her foot.
Be open and honest with one another.
She's what?
She's about to eat her foot.
This homework to help them communicate.
Look.
in an open and safe space. This is an
Is that a good foot?
So
Is that a good
opening up the
foot?
lines of communication,
Is
this
that a good
early
foot?
on should help them be able to have the long-lasting marriages.
Stern, you want things done right. I don't know. I haven't had to cook it yet, so I can't really complain about it.
Oh no. You're so tired.